Where we left off, what came to mind was when Ann was talking about,
Sorry.
get real about funding opportunities. So what came to mind, creative placemaking, that there's a whole industry now around creative placemaking. And once we, of course I've identified a lot of these sites, but once they are, what I would like to see, part of cultural heritage tourism and creative placemaking is that low-cost public art. Like I told Jane, those $50,000 murals, they're sold. You can't do that. But with just some simple, low-cost banners, you can tell the history. You can tell the story. That folks, cultural heritage tourists are already coming here. They come to the Coltrane House. Of course, they're disappointed, like we all are. But then they leave. They would stay if they knew what else there was to see. So we have enough buildings that are no longer used as jazz, but there's still buildings standing, and then of course some vacant lots that if we had some low-cost signage there that could tell this story. Like with Lewis, with Fuji, you've written so much about the showboat. He'd never been inside. So when he was there, I think about 3 or 4 years ago, I had struck a relationship. Yeah, I was the one
You
who
took him?
I was the one who took him inside.
Very cool.
And so like you have the showboat, of course, New Barbers Hall. We have a handful
Okay.
of clubs still here, but we know where they are, and we using technology, apps on their phone, low-cost public art, we can tell a very compelling story that would attract. That would keep cultural heritage tourists who are already coming here, but keep them here longer, and so it could be part of the tourist economy.
Well, that's, when Ann had said that, the first thing that came to my mind was how isolating that is for the money to be situated in just major universities or, the Ivy League. It really isolates it from the community. So maybe having a Philadelphia Jazz Archive that spans, like you were just saying, all over the city in different
Pop up.
historical places. Maybe we could, hopefully fix the Coltrane House, but maybe take some historical places like Trudy's house, like Shirley Scott's house, and turn them into little repositories of certain things, and the place that you were mentioning.
Or using, the house does not have to be open. You can use technology, again, augmented reality, to take them.
Well, I
Yeah.
was thinking virtual
Inside.
tours.
Right.
Virtual tours, there you
Creating
go,
virtual
there you
tours
go.
online.
Yeah.
There you go.
And that Jazzmobile thing, on
Right.
mobile,
Right.
they can go to neighbor,
Right.
we can take it right to neighbors.
Exactly,
So,
exactly.
Driving folks, to a website, is important as well. Driving that type of traffic to our website is crucial. So having virtual tours, I think everybody's not going to make it to Philadelphia. Globally, folks can still check in and gain a relationship to the archive and tour, some of these different locations and opportunities that are available as well through the website
technology.
itself.
That way we space it out, and as Ann was saying, what the money and the grants are with partnerships, where we can, and then maybe build programming around that. I mean, like you said something, Diane, about a program, an exhibits program. Like what kind of exhibits?
Changing exhibits that highlight Philly jazz. I mean, you could do it on an individual. You could do it like on an aspect of jazz during the Great Migration, jazz during the Black Arts Movement.
Yeah, and when you start to
South Philly jazz, North
right.
Philly, West Philly.
When you start to peel away the layers to some
Yeah.
of these individuals, again, just citing Jimmy Merritt,
Right.
there's beyond the Art Blakey years, but his forerunners and having Odine Pope and folks like that early on as part of his forerunners.
Right.
Jimmy's father was an associate of George Washington Carver.
Is that right?
Yes. And he talked to me about George Washington Carver coming to his house since
Right.
when he was a child. But these type of stories are really significant stories. So highlighting those aspects, of their lives, it resonates.
Right.
You
Yeah.
could do one just on Foxhole, when they used to run that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Are any of those people still
Dino's
around?
Foxwell,
I
right.
think some of
Well,
them
the
are,
building
right.
is still there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, that was such a avant, that's when I first moved here,
Right on our
and, you know.
That's what I said earlier.
The
You know, when
avant-garde,
you look at
you
the-
know, and it was like, wow,
the history of
Philly is cool,
RTI.
you know.
Now,
I just have to interrupt. Everybody's talking
Oh,
on
and
each other's
that's
conversation.
and that's what you told us not to do.
See, we're getting comfortable.
That's right,
We're getting
that's
comfortable.
right.
I'm wagging my finger at all of you here.
I was down in Kansas City to see the jazz. Has anybody been down there?
Yeah.
Yep.
They do have one room that was kind of cool. I could have seen more to it, where you went to stations, and each station had like, you know, whether it was it was Charlie Parker and different things
Yeah.
about Kansas City jazz, and you could listen to music, even get a theory lesson about what was important about the difference in the way the snare, the hi-hat was used in the drums and that sort of thing, and pictures, and then spoken word stuff. I don't know, do you think that would work about Philly or something like that, to have one kind of a room that would do something like that? I don't know, do you think it's...
Yeah, I think that's a piece of the puzzle, for sure. I think having different opportunities, different components, you know, are gonna add up to something really significant. But I think that aspect of having a space that folks can go to and, you know, Bobby Timmons, you know.
Right.
Let's, you know, extrapolate, let's give you the big picture, let's, you know, make the connections to, you know, who he played with, how he came up, his family, things along those lines.
Right.
You know, moving to Sun Ra coming to Philadelphia, right? You know, and it's, you know, having that type of opportunity in a given space for someone to move around and make those connections, I think would be significant.
But I do want to sound a cautionary note, because if you're talking about doing something like that, you don't want to do something like that at the expense of the Ridge Avenue location, or some of the smaller locations, or the houses that people
Right.
could see on walking tours.
Right.
Because Atlanta has a museum of the civil rights
It's a
history,
question.
which is wonderful. But one of the things that it does is it does not encourage you to see the actual location.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Another thing about, I was there in '83, okay? So you weren't even born then, but.
Oh, yes, I was.
But,
All of us were.
but if I remember correctly, that was a permanent exhibition.
Yes.
And I think the idea of rotating, you're talking about that too,
Pop-ups.
is important, because the thing about, this is what they were trying to do for years at the Jazz Museum in Harlem, which still hasn't happened, you know, they have a gallery is what they have. And they said, let's have a permanent exhibition, what is jazz, whatever. No one ever listened to me, of course, but I said, the problem with that is people who don't know much about jazz will come once, and that's the end of it. People who do know will say, why do I need to go an exhibition, what is jazz? So rotating, I think, is key, because introductory stuff is only gonna work for a small group of people once.
Right, okay.
You mean even in-depth
Exactly.
stuff like, I mean, Coltrane, that's a given, but if you had an exhibit that showed how influenced he was by Jimmy Oliver and John Glenn, this unknown guy that Coltrane
Yeah.
always talked about.
I spoke to him, I still
You
have the
did?
cassette tape, about an hour we talked.
There you go.
But go ahead, he's in my book. But
Oh,
go
no,
ahead.
We'll have it in the exhibit.
But you're saying,
Listening to
you know,
You're saying-
showing where
Yeah, right.
Coltrane came from. I'm just thinking, you know, I understand in Kansas City, they would have a thing about the hi-hat on 2 and 4 and how different
Yeah.
bebop was. But, you know, like I said, Coltrane's a given, but if you could show where he came from.
but even something like that, wouldn't you think that even it should still be rotating?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
But-
so we're on the same
But the
page.
depth part of it is all on.
Well,
I like that, absolutely.